Oh, did we do that thing, or are we gonna have to combine the two audios?
We did separate audio streams.
Oh, we did?
You need to boost mic. Yeah.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Wait, I didn't consent to this. What record? Who are you people?
Oh, I'm out of here.
This is the worst OnlyFans channel I've ever been on.
Woo!
Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logsden,
And I'm Jeff Sears.
and we've got a special guest with us today. Some people are calling him the new Riz King. Some people are calling him the director of I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday and the writer of Don't Tap on the Glass. Do not tap on the glass.
Please
I
don't
believe
tap
it's also been called a fixture of those weird video booths in the romantics you don't really want to go into.
Yeah, Mike Lombardo.
Hello, thank you for having me back foolishly.
Oh, no. We were overjoyed at the big announcement you made the other day, and that's why you're here is to talk about that big announcement.
Well, I mean, I'm eating for two now.
Hooray!
So am I.
Oh, not my bizarre, unnatural pregnancy. You know, the doctors told me that my womb was barren, but here I am spitting in the eye of God, getting what he so cruelly took away from me.
You're about 4 months along, right? About 50% of the way there.
Yes, I am. I am 50% of the way. So what we're actually talking about is my new film, Dead Format, which was based on a short story in the book, Please Don't Tap on the Glass, and Other Tales of the Melancholy and Grotesque. And we are currently in the middle of our crowdfunding campaign, which is my first crowdfunding campaign. And we are trying to raise a whopping $60,000. And as of today, we have 30,000 of it. Thank you to all of you beautiful people out there on the internet that are giving me your money for some reason. I appreciate it more than I could ever possibly express.
And Mike deserves it more than we do. That's for sure.
Indeed. I'm glad it's going to somebody who actually could use it for something.
Yeah, not like those billionaires. Fuck them.
I wish I could wrangle some billionaires onto this project and I could have a $65,000 budget. But I mean, it's 6 times greater than the budget of I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday. So this is a big, like $60,000 is actually a very, very small amount of money to make a movie with. But for in it's riches beyond compare. Like, I'm terrified to have this much money at my disposal.
We keep saying that if PragerU or Elon or whoever wants to pay us to change the format of the show, we're more than willing. We'll talk about whatever the fuck they want if they'll fund us.
As I say, if you really want to lie to a billionaire, I do know Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, he's like your eighth cousin, right?
Well, shit, I didn't know that. I mean,
all right. Well, but before we talk about all that and ask Mike a bunch of inane questions about Dead Format and other things, we also watched a movie. We'll talk about 1995's The Day of the Beast / Spanish version of that name. Let's deck the halls.
Oh, Beasta or something. I used to know it when I would pretend to be cultured cinematically and I'd tell people the title in Spanish, but
oh, I've been there too.
It is El Día de la Bestia.
Released October 20th, 1995. Not great. Not a great day for a Christmas movie.
Not where you want to be putting a Christmas movie, no.
But December 23rd, 1998 in the USA. Hey, right on. Good job, everyone.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
That purchasing company knew what they were doing.
Writer, director Alex de Iglesia, who also directed Perdita Durango, a movie which the bank robbing scene at the beginning was a very influential moment to a 15-year-old me watching on Scrambled Cinemax. So that's my experience. But I know, Mike, you wanted to talk about Alex de Iglesia.
Yes, phenomenal filmmaker. If you guys are not familiar with his other films, Witching and Bitching, which weirdly opens with a jewel heist involving a living statue, Jesus Christ, with a shotgun. It's batshit crazy. He did Action Mutante, The Last Circus, Pretty Durango. I'm missing. There's one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but all of his movies are absolutely batshit insane, and they in the best possible way. And Day of the Beast is my absolute favorite of them.
No, for years, I like remembered that the bank robbing scene in Perdita Durango, and I didn't know what the movie was, but I could remember the scene, and then it popped up on Shutter, and I went, "This is that movie." And I like fast forwarded to like the first 5 minutes, and then the bank robbing scene happened, and I went, "There it is. That's what I was looking for all these years."
My white whale.
I can die happy now. If people haven't seen it, yeah, I don't know, first 5 minutes. I don't know, Reddit search Perdita Durango. You'll get the scene. That's all that matters.
It's some pretty whacked out stuff.
Also written by Jorge. Oh boy, sorry Jorge, I'm about to slaughter your name. Guerra se Chavirria. I don't know. It's a very long last name. I apologize. I don't speak Spanish. Who also wrote Perdita Durango. Once again, just go back and watch that bank robbing scene. It stars Alex Angulo as Angel, our Basque priest slash professor of theology. Armando de Rosa as Cavan, a psychic slash magician kind of guy. And rounding out our motley trio is Santiago Segura playing Jose Maria.
The best character.
The star of the movie. Well, co-star, him and his grandpa.
Yeah.
Normally we would go through a bunch of the other actors and highlight other Christmas horror movies they might be in. But as far as I know, there isn't another one. So this is the only one. So there's a bunch of stars of like Spanish movies, but I want to say Angel, the actor who plays Angel, was in Pan's Labyrinth and stuff. But I mean, for our purposes, none of these people are important. We'll never see any of them again.
He's dead, actually, too.
Oh, R.I.P. to the goat.
Yeah.
Also, a little fun fact about the soundtrack. It was released only in Spain and Korea, which is a shame because I like the soundtrack a lot.
That's a solid soundtrack. Maybe like a Waxwork Records will pick it up or something like that.
Well, up until last year, I want to say is when Severin put it out, this movie was literally impossible to find stateside. I had a VHS of it that I rented when I actually bought the copy I rented when the video store went out of business back in, oh God, it was probably 1999, maybe 2000. I was in high school and I had read about the movie in a book called Fangoria's like 101 Movies You've Never Heard of.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the poster and I saw it at the video store and I was like, oh my God, this looks awesome. It's got a fucking killer cover. The cover that Severin did is okay, but the cover for this is like, it's like a demon hand holding a rosary and like, oh, it's so cool. So I rented it and I made my friends watch it and we were like lost our minds. And I'm like, this movie I had never seen anything like it before. And then could not find it anywhere. And then for literally 10, 15 years, eventually my roommate, Phil, he was trying to find me a copy. Like we were looking at like Spanish DVDs and stuff. And then finally he just bootlegged it for me. And then Severin announced a 4K. I actually just saw it at the mall yesterday, and I was like, what a time to be alive. Yeah. Like, now the rest of the world now knows about this movie, and it's like the best hidden gem.
I mean, I'm really glad you picked it, because this is probably not something I would have chosen to watch on my own, but I loved it a lot.
No, I had found it on a like Tubi or Shutter while we were trying to compile the list for the podcast. Didn't watch it because I was like, we've got 200 some movies to watch. Like, I'm not going to watch everything I find. We'll get to it eventually. And then when you brought it up on the last time you were on, we were like, okay, knowing Mike's sensibilities, this movie's got to be great. Like,
yeah, I've been championing this movie for literally 20 years. Like, everybody that will listen, I tell them about this movie, but then nobody it's like, this sounds amazing. I'm like, yeah, good luck finding it.
We have we got the Severin copy. I mean, you kind of know that story. I saw you posted about it, so I went and ordered one, and they sent me Day of the Animals first. And so I kindly sent them an email on a Monday night, and I'm like, hey, this is the movie I ordered, and this is the movie you sent me. And within 5 minutes, so it was pretty late on a Monday night, they sent me a thing back. Oh shit, we're so sorry. Like, let us send you a new one. And then a little while ago, I also found a VHS copy of it and bought it to put on our shelf. So
Now, how gorgeous! I tried to dig it out. I didn't have time to dig out my copy, but that cover art is so killer.
no, it's so good. Like that should be the cover art still. I don't know why it's not.
Yeah, cover
I mean,
art
the
has
silhouette
gone
of like
downhill.
goat head. It's still a cool cover that Severin did, but like the VHS art is just unbelievably cool.
Have you seen it, Jeff?
I have not.
I'll show it to you after the episode. It's over
But,
next to you.
that's something I've noticed in general. Cover art and movie posters have gone so far downhill.
Oh,
I mean, especially like their golden age was like the 80s and 90s, I think.
Now, like I think the thing is like buying, like alternative artwork. Like
Yeah.
this room is covered with like alternate art for Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Krampus, and the only actual movie poster we have is Christmas Bloody Christmas, which is over there. But like it's like short runs. Like I think I got a poster for like a show in Pennsylvania that was a double showing of Black Christmas and Krampus, like stuff like that. Like that's that's the cooler stuff than the stuff they're putting out nowadays.
Yep, absolutely.
But where to watch? Tubi, Shutter, Pluto. Jeff, you said you found an English translation on YouTube.
Yes, they're both versions on YouTube. The English one is free. The Spanish one you have to rent. I watched both. I would say probably watch it in Spanish.
That's what I did.
I honestly, it's gonna sound weird. I love the dub. I mean, I grew up watching the dub, so I'm so used to it. And some of the translations when I watched it in like the actual language with subtitles, like accurate subtitles, it kind of bothered me because I know the lines so well, but it's like I kept making this joke earlier when the hose monster. I can't remember what it is in the Spanish version, but in the dub, they see the roommate, this woman, and they go like, "Oh, she's a total hose monster."
Yeah.
I've said that for 20 years now with my friends in our short film, Homemade Roofies. That was one of the jokes, is like, "Oh, she's a total hose monster," and nobody knew what the hell that was a reference to. And then I watched the Spanish version; it's not even what it says.
Oh yeah, I had no idea what you meant when you made that joke.
I watched both. The dub does have its strength. It's kind of like
funny as hell. They did a good job. It's goofy as shit. I mean, it definitely detracts from the movie overall, but it's funny as hell.
Yeah, it's a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure situation for me. I don't know if you've seen any of that. I think you would probably enjoy it, but the English version, the dub, is like so far off from the original Japanese version that it's basically a different show.
Have you guys seen Biozombie?
No.
So Vinegar Syndrome put it out, but another movie I discovered randomly when I was in high school, this hilarious zombie comedy from, I think it's from Korea. But the DVD that was put out in the States from Tokyo Shock had an English dub. That was the only option. And then I was so excited when Vinegar Syndrome put it out. I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, yeah, we don't have the dub was an unofficial dub that wasn't even licensed by the studio. So I watched the actual movie. The dialogue is completely different than what I remember. I'm like, this sucks, but I love the English dub so much because the actors were so funny, but they were improvising shit. And that's why.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I kept the DVD. Now I have the Blu-ray and the DVD, so I can decide if I want to watch video quality or hilarious audio.
That's amazing. Oh man. All right. Well, let's if anyone have anything else before we dive into our synopsis?
Just let me take some acid real quick.
Okay.
I'll be good to go.
All right. Mike, pop your Amanita muscaria there. We'll get this started. We start off with Angel informing the head of his church that he discovered when and where the Antichrist will be born, but like not exactly where. Like he's got like a location. It's Madrid. This movie's Spanish. And the priest is kind of like, okay, like have you told anyone else? He's like, no. He's like, all right, we need to be very careful. We'll stay united. Maybe the devil has heard this conversation. And then like Angel drops something and goes to pick it up as the giant stone cross in the church tips over and crushes like the Monsignor of the church.
What an amazing way to start a movie.
Opening credits / title card, Day of the Beast. We see Angel walking through the streets of Madrid, committing a bunch of evil acts.
Let's say, don't forget, he told his priest friend he was going to be as evil as possible at the beginning.
Oh yeah, he's gonna have to sin a ton so we can get in good with the devil, so we can find out where the Antichrist will be born. And Guys, let's go around in a circle. We'll start with Mike. What was your favorite evil act that Angel did in those opening credits?
I gotta say, when he walks by a car accident and they're loading a dying man into an ambulance, and they said, "Father, can you give this man his final rites?" And he's like, "Of course." He leans over to bless him, steals his wallet, and says, "You're gonna burn in hell."
That's
So
a great one.
fucking dark.
That is great.
This is like 6 minutes into the movie.
No, absolutely. Like Jeff and I were already chuckling a bit, and then that happened, and we lost it. What was your favorite moment?
My favorite is near the end of the opening where he gives the list to future hero Jose Maria of the dark bands that he's looking for, and the middle one is Iron Maiden.
Oh, we were going to talk about that. There were a couple that stood out. I mean, he stole from the homeless.
That was
funny. Is the blind guy?
He stole a British tourist's suitcase. Which like I love that it's just like this British guy. He hauls a suitcase out into the middle of the sidewalk, and he's like, "Oi, gov, taxi!" And then like Angel just walks by, steals the suitcase, and keeps walking. But I think my absolute favorite is when he pushed over the guy who was like the living statue street performer, like pushed him down a flight of stairs. But yeah, that'll give you an idea of kind of what we get into. Angel like kind of talks to a guy who's handing out leaflets. There's a leaflet, something about Nostradamus, gonna be like a Nostradamus presentation. And he's kind of like, "Who sent you? Was it the devil?" And the guy's like, "Leave me the fuck alone, man.
I just gotta hand these out.
I'm just doing my job here." And then he goes down to he turns around, sees the record store that Jose Maria works at, decked out in all sorts of cool devil shit. And he goes downstairs as Jose Maria is like beating the shit out of a guy who was trying to like steal from the store and like shoving his head through the glass case in front of him. The dude's all bloody and shit.
As you do.
And he hands him a list of evil music to play. And the three bands are Napalm Death, Iron Maiden, like you said, Jeff, and then Heche Sede or Dese, which is I believe, which I looked it up, it would be how Angel would pronounce AC/DC. Because I'm like, what's Heche Dese? And then like I looked it up, I went, oh,
wow.
That's actually really funny. He like spelled it out phonetically.
I just know the fact that those are the darkest bands he can think of was what made me laugh.
You know, Iron Maiden, real devil shit. Love Iron Maiden, real devil shit.
Well, you know, the number of the beast.
Yeah. Mike, run to the hills. Well, let's just do a bunch of let's go around a circle and make a bunch of Iron Maiden puns. I only know like 3, so we're not gonna make it very far.
They have a song about Alexander the Great that's 12 minutes long that's just recounting his entire life, which I think is nice.
The only other thing I know about Iron Maiden, besides that their lead singer is also a pilot, which I think is pretty cool, is that their bassist Steve Harris is a massive West Ham fan. So I mean, good for him. He has great taste in soccer teams.
Boo, soccer talk.
Anyway, Jose Maria gives Angel a cassette for a band called Satanica that's going to be playing in a place called Hell tomorrow night.
Nice.
And that Angel should really check it out. And he's like, "Oh, but tomorrow's Christmas Eve. I'll be busy." And then like he's like, "Well, where are you staying, Father?" And he's like, "Oh, I haven't decided yet." And he's like, "Oh, my mom runs a hostel. You should go check that out." So we cut to the hostel where we are introduced to Mina, who lives there and I guess works for
yes,
who works for Jose Maria's mom.
Yes, she works as like basically like a maid and a part-time cook, it seems like.
I kind of thought like maybe the joke was because he called her like his old lady. I think the joke was that you were supposed to think Mina was like his wife, and then like because then he goes into like his room, and then Rosario, his mom, like opens the door. She's like, "Who the fuck was that?" And like, and so it's like, "Oh, your son recommended that he come." And so like then oh, like that, that's not his wife. I think that's what maybe the joke was supposed to be.
Old lady is his mom.
I mean, it's I don't know. Maybe Spanish humor doesn't land on us as well, but it's still. Regardless, it's still funny. But that was kind of. I was sitting there. I was like, I wonder if the reason he used term "old lady," like, because it could mean both your wife or your mother. Like, at the hostel, and then We see Kavan talking on the TV about this is like the second time we're introduced to him because we were introduced to him like briefly a little bit earlier. But he's talking on the TV to a lady from Valladolid, who's like, "Oh, my husband's out of work, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Well, I've got even worse news. Your husband's about to be very sick."
No, she's about to be.
Oh, is that what it was? She was about to be very sick.
Her
Okay.
husband's not going to get a job for 5 years. She said, but she's also about to be very sick.
They're just like real opposite of what these psychics are supposed to do in their cold readings and stuff. And then we cut to Jose Maria or Angel sitting in his room smoking a cigarette, which he's clearly not good at, and then burning his feet. We will see what he's burning into his feet a little bit later, and it looks gnarly as shit.
Oh.
The next day, Angel goes to a bookstore and he sees like a book by Kavan about like the occult, and it's like saran wrapped or like it's plastic wrapped, and he just rips open like the stuff and takes the book out and then goes to leave. And the lady's like, "Hey, sir, are you gonna turn that book in?" And he's like, "What book?" And then the very next scene is him being escorted by like armed guards like to the manager's office. The manager's like, "Are you going to pay for this book?" And he's like, "Oh, I can. I have the money to, but I'm not supposed to because I'm trying to be evil." and then he like explains to him why. And at one point, the manager like sticks his head out to say something to like his secretary. He's like, call the police. I've got a nut job in here. And then
all the local asylums and see if any priests have escaped in the last few days.
And then he turns around and just gets smacked in the face with an iron by Angel, who like picks up the book and runs away, and then keys a bunch of his of cars on his way out.
Which is starting one of our funniest running gags of people being smashed in the face with things.
Oh, so good. Oh my god. They play that punch sound effect of him just decking people. So many. It's the exact same sound every single time, and it's perfect every single time. We cut back to the hostel where we see Angel's feet. And he's burned the sign of the cross into both of his feet, and that's what he was doing. It looks really gross. He then goes into the kitchen where Mina and Rosario are talking about her being stupid for letting him in. What if he's not a real priest? Blah, 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 blah.
Mina still not being topless.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I know, Jeff, you were waiting. And so he kind of sits down, and then Jose Maria shows up, and he tells Jose Maria about his mission, and we are then introduced to Granddad, Jose Maria's grandpa, who's wearing a bathrobe that is untied, just hanging dong all over the place. And I mean, Granddad, real star of the movie. Every scene he's in, your eyes are just instantly drawn to him. An episode of Kavan is playing where he performs an exorcism on a young boy. The camera cuts like in between like scenes of the show to Angel and Jose Maria talking about all sorts of stuff. How they need to find Kavan, and then it randomly cuts back to the hostel where like Mina's ironing clothes, and Grandpa's just sitting in the corner, balls out, like just enjoying life. Then they give chase to Kavan, which leads to I guess our first instance. We'd heard briefly about the cleanup Madrid gang or whatever.
Yeah.
I think we're going to call them the Toyotas because that's what they call them in the credits because they drive a Toyota.
Well, I'm assuming that guy he was not giving last rites to at the beginning was a victim of theirs.
I thought maybe that might be it too. Mike, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he was on fire, and because in the opening credit, isn't there a scene where they're lighting someone on fire in the opening?
Yeah, and they talk about it. Yeah,
they show the graffiti too.
That was based on real life. That was a big thing in Madrid. Apparently, there's a big neo-Nazi population, and that was actually like a thing. People were immolating homeless people, which is fucking insane.
No, it's wild.
But that's what that came from in real life.
But Kavan stops at a convenience store as the Toyotas like run out. And he like walks in, and there's like they've spray painted "Clean Up Madrid," like killed a dude like by shoving his his head through the through like the glass of like the refrigerator door, and like his like neck's all split open. Kavan just doesn't even notice. Goes, grabs a bottle of wine, like grabs some food off the shelf. The store clerk has also been murdered, and he's just like, "Here, I'll just leave the cash," and he just walks out. I don't know if he's oblivious, if he's just above it, but it's so great.
He'd already foreseen all of this, Jay. He didn't need to worry about it.
Yeah, he knew he'd be fine. um as Jose Maria and Angel give chase, Jose Maria starts talking about Jesus Christ Superstar and singing some of the songs, and I think that might be maybe my favorite moment of the whole movie,
Yes.
just because it was so silly.
I did love that.
A dude decked out in like metal shit, like eyebrow piercings, like long hair, big beard, like wearing like like a death metal t-shirt, singing the lyrics to Jesus Christ Superstar. Mike, what's your favorite musical?
My favorite musical? Oh, that's easy. Cannibal the Musical.
Oh, sorry, what's your favorite Andrew Lloyd Webber musical?
Oh boy, there's too many to pick. I'm gonna have to go with Cats. I'm just such a big T Swift fan.
I gotcha. We're big Cats fans too. We're part of the Restore the Butthole Cut universe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny
we want to see those cats' buttholes.
When that trailer first came out, this is the first thing I said to my girlfriend. I'm like, "Where are their assholes?" And she's like, "Well," I'm like, "I've had cats. Those buttholes should be on big display." And then that became like a thing. Like a week later, I'm like, "Wow, I'm glad it wasn't just me."
Yes, when you see a cat, you're gonna see that ass, no matter what you do.
Absolutely.
I said to my wife the other day, I'm like, I want to make like a tasteful like coffee table book, pictures of dogs pooping, and she's like, that's already a thing, and she went and Googled it, and sure enough, so my dream for that has been crushed. But yeah, certainly if we can get a cat's butthole movie, like I'd be all for that.
One day, well, they recut Caligula. That's coming out, so I'm sure they'll do the cats or the OG cats cut.
We just need to get the Zack Snyder fans on it.
Yeah,
and be like, is actually Zack Snyder did the original version of Cats with the buttholes, and they censored it.
Yeah, they'll get it done. They're good at getting their crap, their slop remade. Where Mike, I don't know how many episodes you listen to. We're not big Zack Snyder fans on this podcast.
You're not going to upset me.
All right.
I met him when I was there in the crowd when they premiered the first footage from the Dawn of the Dead remake.
His only good movie.
His only good movie.
We booed him off stage. Literally, you read I think it's a book called Book of the Dead. It's a book of zombie cinema. I have it over there on my shelf. They interviewed Tony Timpone, the old editor of Fangoria, and he talks about that day. He's like, I've never seen such a hostile crowd. I'm like, yeah, I was there. It was like 13, and I was definitely like yelling shit. I'm like, I feel like an asshole now because the movie's fine. But it was a very hostile crowd. I'm not a fan of him at all. So
I mean, it's his best movie, but I'm sure that's also because the Gunn brothers like wrote it. So I'm sure that's a large part of it.
Yeah, he's the worst part about that movie is his style.
Yeah.
Oh man, I recently we're gonna go off topic again. Man, this happens a lot when Mike's on the show. We our local theater, the Varsity, did like last month did Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, like kind of triple showing. Not back to back, but like 1 week after the other. Yeah. And after watching all three, like they were all three great, and it's clear that like Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead are fantastic movies. I think Day of the Dead might be my favorite.
Day of the Dead is the best of the three. It's not my favorite of the three, but it is the best of the three. Like it actually is. Like I think that Romero really hit his stride with everything. Savini's effects are top notch. Like it's a very ugly, dark movie. It's the Alien 3 of the Dead franchise. It's like Dawn was such a comic book adventure. You love all the characters, then you flip to just this nihilistic, ugly, like people screaming at each other the whole time, but it is a much stronger movie.
There was literally people clapping and cheering when Bub kills like the dude at the end of the movie. Like literally, like someone like started clapping and everyone was silent for a minute, and then literally just everyone started clapping and cheering. Like,
choke on him.
Oh, so good. Anyway, Kavan then arrives at his apartment, and Angel follows him upstairs. Kavan answers the door, and Angel once again goes into his long speech about theology and how the Antichrist is going to be born tomorrow and blah, blah, blah. He needs to figure it out to stop the end of the world. And Kavan's like, all right, I'll take your address. Like, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. And, and Angel's pretty adamant, but whatever. And so Kavan leaves, and Angel walks in and grabs what do you call it? The banger of the gong. I don't know what you call that. the drumstick, the
Yes.
gong stick, and he whacks Kavan over the head with it. We cut to Kavan tied up, and Angel's like trying to explain the whole thing and his whole theory and how he figured out that this is going to happen. And Kavan's really skeptical. But then Jose Maria comes upstairs, and I think the idea that maybe he's gonna get his ass kicked slash Jose Maria wearing all the masks in the apartment and like breaking them and shit and like ruining his stuff.
You've glossed over a crucial plot point once again, Jay. Why did Jose Maria have to come upstairs in the first place?
Because he was parked wrong on the street.
Badly parked. And so he gets hassled by the cops. And when he gets up to the door, he's like, hurry, I'm badly parked again. We gotta get out of here.
And then his car gets stolen later. So they like, so you know, but I just love in the background, like Angel's still trying to tell like Kavan like all this stuff, trying to convince him, and you've just got Jose Maria going around trying on masks,
breaking things
and breaking shit. And then at one point, like he goes to put a mask on, and it just falls right off his face and shatters on the ground, and Kavan just turns to him and flips him off. So he tells them they need I wrote it all down here. They need 4 consecrated hosts that are anointed with a maiden's blood. They need a pentacle on the floor, a sacred knife, and a goblet. Oh, and Amanita muscar, the Christmas mushroom, which, hey, it ties back to Christmas. This is a Christmas movie. And they kind of half-ass their way to getting these things, with it being LSD, and they like carve it into the floor when like Kavan's like, you could have just drawn it. And he's like, no, you wrote carve. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Yes. He's like, those are Italian wood floors.
They don't have a sword, so don't have a sacred sword, so they have to use one of the kitchen knives.
Yeah.
And then Suzanne, and so like he's like, and you need a maiden's blood. And then he's like, I don't know where you'd find one of those. And then the doorbell rings and his girlfriend Susanna arrives. And so they go and give chase to her when she like starts running through the apartment, and Angel like chases after her through the building, falling down multiple flights of stairs, like tripping over himself. And then like he like pushes Susanna so she falls and like knocks her head, and then he drags her back up all the stairs like by her feet. At one point, like flicking a light off, and then a guy like comes out and he's like, oh, I thought I heard something, and he just goes back inside. Oh, it's so great.
Bear in mind that all of this is completely unnecessary because her blood is useless anyway.
Yeah, she's not a maiden, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that's right, listeners. Kavan fucks.
Yeah, he does a lot too.
Yeah, he does it a lot.
Another woman I wanted to see topless never happened.
But then so Kavan's kind of laughing at him. Where are you gonna find a virgin at this time of night? Cut to Mina at the apartment watching TV with Grandpa like sitting in the background.
Yes, that's one of my favorite Jose Maria lines, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. When he's like, I've been trying to nail this broad for like 12 months. Nothing.
and then like Angel's like, what? And he's like, shag. And he like does like a hip thrust.
He's a real classic character.
Angel arrives at the hostel, tries to drug Mina to try and steal her blood, lets her in on that's what he's trying to do, which causes her to like freak out and try to fight him.
Yeah.
She then passes out, and he goes to like dragging her by her feet through the house. The phone starts ringing. Rosario like sticks her head out, yelling for Mina, trying to find her. She runs and answers the phone. So Angel has to go the other way, hide in the bathroom, where Grandpa's now sitting on the toilet smoking a cigar and watching all this. And then Rosario goes and kind of confronts him about, she's like, oh, what, what's going on in the bathroom? He's like, oh, the rabbit you made must be bad. It's upsetting my stomach.
Yeah.
And she's like, and she goes back into her room, and Angel like hurries back down the hallway, and he thinks he gets away with it, but Rosario pokes her head out and she sees him dragging Mina into the room. So she goes to her dresser and gets her shotgun out. Meanwhile, Angel has finished like collecting a jar full of blood, and he thinks he's all ready, he's good to go, and then the door to his room gets blown off by a shotgun blast, and then he gets his ear blown off by another shotgun blast from Rosario.
Gnarly effect, by the way.
It looks great. It looked so brutal. And then she chases them through the hostel, and The only thing it was missing was like yakety sax playing in the background. All right, some Benny Hill music. Jeff, you would have appreciated that because if we had had the Benny Hill music, we probably would have had a topless person in the movie. He kind of like he's getting his ass kicked by Rosario, like absolutely destroyed.
Hilariously bad how bad she's kicking his ass.
Like she's throwing him around, fucking busts him through a window, like blood streaming down him, throws him down a flight of stairs, and he's the whole time he's like managing to make sure the blood is held upright as he's like falling down the flight of stairs. And then Rosario like gets close to him and he kicks her, and she goes flying over the banisters and like falls down, hitting multiple like railings on the way down before like getting caught and like breaking her neck or whatever. Real Gwen Stacy.
And I was like, fuck that old bitch. What about Granddad?
Yeah, what's Granddad gonna be up to? He gets back to Kavan's apartment, and
well, he gets back just in time to stop the prisoners from escaping under Jose Maria's iron watch.
Jose Maria, almost let Kavan and Susanna escape, and I love it. Like Susanna's able to like kind of fight him off. She makes it to the door, opens it, and there's Angel just standing there with a shotgun. So cut to Susanna now like tied up in the bathtub. And so they perform this ritual with LSD instead of acid or LSD instead of mushrooms with the knife, the carving in the floor. They don't have like the consecrated hosts. They don't have like the wafers. So instead they cut like circular white bread and used that. They all they perform the ritual. Angel signs this contract and Kavan's like, see, nothing happened. I fucking told you this is all a farce, you stupid fucks. And then like a little cockroach like comes crawling. I think it's implied to be bigger, but then we see it and it's real small. It comes crawling and then it like reaches the edge of the pentacle and then turns away. And they're like, oh, because he's scared. He's scared of the, we've got this magic going. And then like a awesome black goat just fucking walks into the apartment.
It's the Black Phillip from the Vivitch.
From the famous movie The Vivitch, his first appearance.
It is, and I'll tell you that scene, that goat is the creepiest goat, like Black Phillip. And when I saw The Witch, that's what that first thing I said. I'm like, fuck this Black Phillip thing. Watch Day of the Beast.
Yeah.
Because when the goat, then they're like, it's just a goat. And like, what's it gonna do? And then it stands up on its hind legs. Like a person, and it is so fucking creepy.
That was very unnerving.
And it opens its mouth to hiss and has fangs. Like, just awesome.
It's such a great effect.
And then just turns around and like leaves
the devil's like, fuck you, idiots. I know what you're trying to do.
You're not gonna fool me, and just turns around and leaves the apartment. So now Kavan's convinced. He lets Susanna go, but like you can tell he clearly believes, even though I think at that point Jose Maria and Angel don't believe that he believes. Like they think he's still skeptical, even though we all witnessed it. And so he lets Susanna go, and but he's kind of adamant he's going to stick around, and they're trying to like piece together this clue that was left in the contract, which I think just says like no more games or something like that. Oh, this is not a game. That's what it says. Sorry. They're then kind of like hanging out in the apartment. They start hearing this banging on the door.
Oh shit, it's the cops.
It's the cops, or maybe it's the devil, I think is what they also think, because I still think they are also very high.
Yeah.
But potentially that's the whole movie. The whole rest of this movie might just be their trip. We'll talk about that. But I love the effect on the door where like the door is banging and it's just kind of like normal. And then it's like a haunted mansion where like the doors are actually like shaking. And then like literally the door is like moving the entire universe around it as like it like bangs in and out. So they flee through a window and like climb down this giant neon sign, and probably in the scene that probably gave me the most anxiety.
Oh my God,
movie.
yes. Them hanging off that sign and Jose Maria just not giving a single fuck. Just trying to knock them off.
It's a Schweppes sign, isn't it? The ginger ale.
Yeah.
Yep. Or I believe is the kids on TikTok are calling it now Schwapeepees.
Oh, yeah, it's my favorite ginger ale. So I'm like, man, this is great.
Oh, not a Werner's guy, I see.
I'm a Schweppes boy.
Oh.
Actually, I've been Canada Dry lately, 0 sugar, but I got the Beatus, so I got to watch it.
Oh, I understand.
So does my wife. I just went 0 sugar because I'm already fat enough.
Yeah, I was same here. I'm trying to lose weight, but
The zero sugar stuff has come a long way. I actually prefer the taste of a lot of it to regular soda now.
Yes, same for me.
No, I agree. Like pretty much, I think I'm down to like maybe like one sugary thing like a day, and that's it. Because I'm like otherwise like no, a lot of cans of liquid death flavored sparkling water.
You're sweet enough. You don't need it.
Oh, thanks. Um, so they climb down this sign, and Jose Maria just like starts like threatening to jump, and I'm just sitting there like literally just like tense as shit. I'm like, don't fucking do it, dude.
When he starts pulling them down when they're trying to hold him up, when he starts like rocking his legs, trying to pull them all off there.
And so like they're
my nightmare.
So like Kavan and they're able to pull Kavan and Angel are able to like pull him up once. He jumps again, and Kavan gets like pulled behind him, and Kavan loses his grip and like falls multiple stories and lands on another sign below. And I think at first we're supposed to think he's dead, but he survives. And then Angel's able to pull up Jose Maria. They then exit through the window of another apartment where a little girl's watching like a Santa Claus special. And Jose Maria walks in, fucking long hair, beard, fat guy, and she just goes, Santa's here. Which I mean, real metal looking Santa Claus. Really, eat your heart out, David Harbour. And the dad's like, Santa's not here, and Jose Maria just punches him in the face as he leaves.
Excellent.
They are now on the run from the cops. And we cut to Kavan, who has apparently left the hospital, returned to the news station because he needs to find these guys because Kavan is convinced. And we get this weird scene, and I don't know how to describe what's about to happen to this guy who asks for an autograph. Mike, I don't know if you want to. Like, it's wild.
I'm blanking on that scene. I know exactly what you're talking about. He's in the studio and isn't he electrocuted?
Yeah.
Like I think the sound guy, like one of the cables, it's something happens and he gets like water spills and it hits a cable on the floor and it just like fucking fries the dude.
Well, Kavan like loses his pen, so then he's using the other guy's pen, and then the guy's like, "Oh, hey, here's your pen," and he walks over and goes to pick it up.
And it connects the circuit.
And I thought because he was like, my wife's name was something like, oh, hold on, I got it in my notes. It was like Angela Maria or something like that. I was like, oh, is his wife the lady from Valladolid? And like that's why her husband's gonna be out of work because he just got electrocuted. I thought the joke was tying back to itself because I think the lady had the same name.
Yeah. I was not expecting it, honestly. That's what's great about a lot of the things in this movie. You're not expecting it to go like, why? Like when they just he punches the dad in the face during the Santa Claus thing just previous to this, and it was like he didn't even need to.
No, the guy would have just let him leave.
There's so much just fucking. That's how all of his so crazy.
And they then Angel and Jose Maria then wind up at the Nostradamus lecture that Angel was given the leaflet for at the beginning of the movie. And he starts like screaming like, fuck your Nostradamus. Like, I need to know where the devil's going to be born. Like if you, and so like, because he's making such a scene, the cops rush in and then Jose Maria just starts shooting off his shotgun in the middle of this lecture hall.
It has such college lecture energy because the presenter is just like, please hold all questions till the end. He goes on another insane rant. Please hold all questions till the end.
So they escape into like the streets of a Christmas parade, and I think I think they're looking for the lecturer because they were able to escape, but he ran off. So Angel climbs up on a thing where the three wise men are. He sees the lecturer sees him, shouts out to the police about it, who just open fire, killing the three wise men around him, like in front of all these children.
Realistic police response.
There he is, get him. So they immediately just start like just unload into these three wise men, completely missing Angel, who is then able to escape. Yep. He and Jose Maria steal a taxi.
You know what, Jay? If they were wiser, they would have got out of the way.
And start speeding down the street. And Oh my gosh. And Jose Maria at one point, the guy just like kind of talks back to him about something, and Jose Maria just pistol whips the dude with like the butt of his shotgun, like, don't talk to me. And so then
Uber
like,
drivers, am I right?
he's like, oh, there's the guy. And so like he like pulls on the, he does kind of like pulls on the steering wheel, but because Angel's like leaning out the door, Angel goes rolling down the street like opposite it.
These men should be dead by this point.
They run up to the lecturer who's like, he's like, they're like, tell us where the devil's going to be born. We need to know where the Antichrist is going to be born. You need to tell us. And he's like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. And he runs off.
I don't know anything. I'm just a bullshitter.
And so so Jose Maria is then like, okay, like I'll go get us a ride. We need to figure out what we're gonna do next. I'll go steal us a car. And I think this is where Angel tells him that he killed his mom.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck my mom.
Fuck that old bitch. But what's gonna happen to Granddad?
No, and I mean, what is gonna happen to Granddad? That's one thing we don't know.
Yeah,
That's the sequel.
I wish.
Oh man, I wish.
Morning of the Beast.
Morning of the Beast. Whatever happened to Granddad.
Yeah.
They so Jose Maria leaves. Angel is sitting on a park bench and watches the Clean Up Madrid Toyota's gang arrive, dump a bunch of gasoline on a homeless guy, light him on fire, and then he runs towards Angel and like falls dead at his feet. And Angel kind of like tries to like roll the guy over and dust him off. And he opens up his shirt and it says Satanica, the name of the band that's going to be performing at Hell that night.
Ah, clue.
And so Angel goes to the bar Hell and sees a pregnant lady. So he goes up to talk to her and like rips off her necklace because clearly he's out of ideas at this point. This is his last idea: go to Hell and stop the pregnant lady. And he just gets his ass kicked by her boyfriend and another guy at the bar, which culminates with him getting his head thrown through a urinal.
Oh god, I love a good urinal smash.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Jose Maria shows up, like notices he's gone. I think notices that they're by Hell, so he goes into Hell and is looking around and then finds Angel in the bathroom, the water from the urinal just pouring over his head. And like he kind of grabs him and they go to leave, and he's chastising him. He's like, I told you to stay put. I told you I'd get a car. Like, we'll get this done. And Angel's just kind of he's starting to give up at this point. And they stop outside a TV store. Kavan's doing a broadcast. He's trying to find these guys, and Jose Maria calls, and they kind of have this back and forth where Kavan's like, because Angel still doesn't believe that Kavan believes, and he's like, you want proof? Hey listeners, go fuck hey viewers, go fuck yourselves. Like all you guys are all fucking stupid. If that doesn't prove to you that I'm serious, that the Antichrist is about to be born, and all of this is going to be over with, like you need to believe me.
But then the ultimate thing happens. He runs out of change.
They don't have any change, so then the phone line cuts dead.
Damn the devil.
But one thing that Angel said was like, I am in hell.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And so then Kavan like grabs the Satanica tape, and he's thinking about Hell, and one of the guys in the studio is like, oh, hell's the name of a club. And so he grabs like the newspaper and like kind of puts it together that Satanica's performing at Hell that night.
Meanwhile, he's being berated by his producer for tanking his show and ruining their lives.
He punches the dude in the face because people just get punched in the face all the time in this movie. He then drives to the club. The club's already closed for the night, but as luck would have it, Jose Maria is such a dumb fat fuck that he fails to hijack a car.
Hey, you know what? I've had to open a car with a Slim Jim before. It is not that easy. Okay.
I've had to sit in a car while I ate a Slim Jim, and it was tough. Let me tell you.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. Spiced
Macho
beef.
Man had been there. He could have just ripped the door off the car.
That's what I was hoping.
R.I.P. to the goat.
Oh yeah. So he's like, get in, losers. We're going to stop the Antichrist.
And so he tells them his theory that Christ's symbol is the cross, and churches, especially churches in Europe, are laid out like the cross. And he's like, and the devil's symbol are these two, I don't know, like backwards facing like dashes
type things, yeah.
and he noticed it because like the Satan symbols he had like all had that like in
His
them.
contracts from the 15th century up to the one they signed all have the same signature.
And then the boy he performed the exorcism on also had the two symbols like on his chest.
Mhm.
And
It's
so
supposed to
he's
be,
like
it's
he's
supposed to be the hoof. The
Yep.
hoof print.
yeah.
Burned.
Oh yeah, that's a good yeah. I hadn't even thought about the idea that yeah the hoof print. And so he's like, so we need to go to a place that looks like this, and they turn around and they're at the gateway to Europe or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
called the Gates of Europe building, I believe.
And it's these large buildings that are shaped just like that. And then I love that there's also a Christmas decoration of like a shooting star, also like hanging above those, like just put more on the point.
Mhm.
So they arrive into like this
A filthy manger.
yeah they hear this baby crying, and so they go up and there's like this homeless family with a baby, and it's the Antichrist, it's clearly the Antichrist, and out roll the Toyotas, shooting the family, beating the shit, I'm sure punching Kavan again.
He gets hit over the back of his neck with a baseball bat.
And so like they start kind of wailing on him. Jose Maria and Angel escape up an elevator.
Yeah.
And Jose Maria's like, I'll hold him off, Father, or I'll hold him off, Angel. Like you go and hide. And I think he gets a couple shots off, doesn't really hit the guys, then gets shot in the leg. And then Angel witnesses as like one of the Toyotas like picks him up by the neck and then transforms in front of his eyes into the devil. Sweet looking devil. Looks really cool.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Drops Jose Maria. Angel's able to get like the handgun from one of the guys, shoots him, runs back downstairs as the two other Toyotas are setting Kavan on fire. It kills both of them, puts the fire out, and then he goes and he lifts the cardboard off the homeless family where the baby was crying, and it was like it was a young girl, and the baby that was crying was her baby doll.
No.
So it wasn't a baby Antichrist. He then like hears the sound of hoof prints behind him, turns around, shoots his gun at the devil, and it's just a guy. And then like we cut to Kavan's show, and now there's a new Kavan 9 months later. And he's like, he's like, our hearts go out to whatever Kavan's like the first Kavan's name was. He's like, but I'm the new Kavan, and the show must go on. And then we're at a park where Kavan and Angel are like watching this on TV. Kavan, like half of his face is all burned, looks great, looks real gnarly. And the father's grown like this massive beard. And they're like limping through the park, and Kavan's like, he doesn't look a thing like me. He's nowhere near as handsome as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of complains about how like no one will ever know that they saved the world that night on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And the credits roll. The end.
So I think the part of the homeless girl, there was a baby. I think the idea is supposed to be that in the Christian mythology that there was the manger and then Jesus was born, but in the inversion of that is then instead of celebrating the birth of something, they just fucking shoot him.
Oh, we were gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
It's just so neo-Nazis basically are killing Jesus. Like that's the idea. It's the opposite of it. I think
I was gonna talk about it. We're gonna open up our
I love that when the guy comes up behind him and you can still see the devil's shadow. I like that a lot.
We were gonna talk about that. We're gonna pull out a little segment we call Snow You Didn't. Did all that shit really happen, or were they high on LSD? What are your guys' thoughts?
I think it happened. I think it's cool that they added that element where it's like it could be them being crazy or could not, but I think given the opening of the movie with the cross crushing the priest, and there's too many other things that happened prior to the LSD scene that I think it was real.
Yes,
I like to
I'm in the
believe
it happened camp as well because crazy shit happens in this movie way before they ever take drugs.
I had come like that was my kind of thought. We watched it the first time, and like by the end of it, I was convinced. I was like, okay, like no, it didn't happen. And I was firmly in that camp. And then when I watched it again, I was like, okay, but they all saw the stuff. Like because I was they were all high, and I've been high with my friends before, and we've not all seen the same funny things. Like, I mean, I've never been on like hallucinogens that strong, but like
the way the world reacts to what's going on too, I think it must really be happening.
But yeah, I just had that thought. I had to get your guys' opinions. Do we want to start off with favorite quotes? Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Mike, if you have any, shout them out.
I mean, I gotta say, my favorite is still the dub where they call her a hose monster. It's just the weirdest fucking slang I've ever heard. It cracked me up so much.
Jose, I'm afraid your mother might be dead. I had to push her down the stairs when she tried to kill me. Pause. Fuck that old bitch. But what's gonna happen to Granddad? I cannot stop thinking about that line.
At the beginning of the movie, if we stay united, we'll manage. With God's help, says the father of the church, and then Angel drops his thing, ducks, and the cross just goes and crushes him right in front of him. We have to stay together. Gets crushed by cross immediately. The guy handing out leaflets, he goes, I always get stuck with the crazies. Fuck it anyways. And then he just runs off.
I love just I think we're gonna make that part of the description for this episode. Whenever anything like incredible happens or like some guy gets his head split open or anything, Jose Maria is always like heavy.
Yeah, that was gonna be the next one. It's heavy. Every single time. I love it.
When we're introduced to Jose Maria's mom, and she's talking about Jose Maria, Rosario's like, he's working in a record shop, but he's really an artist. And then Jose Maria just goes, fuck off. And Rosario elbows him in the face,
Yes.
knocking him out of his chair as he rolls backwards.
Oh man.
I have one more, and if you guys have any first.
What? Oh, it's when he goes to the bar, hell, and he's like, "You're one of them, right?" And the security guard's like, "What?" And he's like, "I know everything. I'll be here. Today is the day of the beast." And he's like, "No, Satanica are on today. Check dates at the bar."
My last one is when they're taught when he's like, well, we need Amanita mascara, and then Jose Maria is like, yeah, like I've tried those. It's like acid, like LSD. I have some here, and he starts just pulling like piles and piles of drugs out of his pocket, and then he looks at Angel, and he's like, it isn't for me, father. Some pals of mine are having a party.
I wanted to shout out the trailer quote that I thought works really well. Father, I want to confess. What have you done? Nothing, Father. I haven't sinned, but I intend to commit all the evil I can.
It's a great line.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, did you have any others?
No, I'm tapped on those. Like I said, mine like the dub is so different than the actual dialogue that
Yeah.
I might have to go back and
Yes,
watch the
I
dub
was gonna say,
just to get the completely different take on
Yes,
it.
it's worth watching.
it's
I
funny.
would say.
The voice acting is hilarious.
Well, since you were last on, we changed our Christmas sweater category, which was just about costumes. It's now Christmas wrapping, and it encompasses costume, set design, stuff like that. So, Mike, favorite Christmas wrapping, costume, set designs.
I mean, I gotta go with the parade. Like just that whole thing with the three wise men. Like it's such a cool looking set piece, and then have everybody getting gunned down and stuff. Like it's just as a filmmaker watching that, it just makes my stomach hurt thinking about the logistics of trying to organize it and shoot it. And it's just like, man, this is insanity. And it's so well done too. I love it. It looks so cool.
Jose Maria's costume I love with like his jean jacket with the metal buttons and everything on it. He's exactly the kind of person that my grandpa used to warn me about when I would listen to metal music. He's like, you don't want to fall in with guys like that.
My favorite thing is that, like, while I'm sure like priest outfits have kind of changed and evolved over time, and people like Kavan have kind of changed their appearance and kind of the way they look over time, fucking Jose Maria, metal dudes still look exactly like that. Here we are 30 years later, and they still look exactly the same.
It's great. I could picture his look in my mind so easily. I love it. Worked really well for me.
But gore effects were great.
Yeah.
Like we only get a handful, but like by the end of it, like Angel's so beaten up, just like covered in blood, and you could like kind of tell the battle scars like on his body as they kept up with him.
He's barely walking.
Top one for me is still when he gets his ear blown off by the shotgun.
Oh, it looks so gnarly.
That's a gnarly effect.
And a Kavan like barely limping along too, because he's supposed to be in the hospital and he's just trying to roam around town with it.
I love that he's got the cast on his. It's one of those like I love he's got the cast on his leg, but you can still see his bare foot because like he can't put a sock or a shoe on under his cast. I always love that look. And then I lastly I've only ever been to Barcelona. But man, it looked like Spain. Like, if you had like it's one of those where like I don't think you would have been able to fool me, someone who's actually been to Spain before. I was sitting there and I'm like, yeah, this looks like Spain. Like I've not been to Madrid, but I've been to the second largest city or the largest city. I don't want to get our Catalan listeners upset with us. All of there because there's so many of them. But it's the like it felt like Spain. I was kind of sitting there. I'm like, yeah, I've been to Spain. This is exactly what Spain's like. Like that was kind of my thought.
Jay, I've been to Spain, Logston. Here we go
Oh
again.
yeah, classic me. I always talk about that time I went to Spain. me and Lionel Messi hanging out. That was my first Spanish pull. An Argentine man. Moving on. We'll move on to Christmas Spirit. How Christmassy is the movie and how Christmassy were the kills, Jeff?
The kills, not at all, I would say. Not very Christmassy. Christmas Spirit, I would say medium. The parade scene really did a lot to bring up the Christmas spirit, I think, because up to that point there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, a few things here and there. But yeah, the parade scene kind of made up for a lot of that. I like the chandeliers you pointed out with like the Christmas lights wrapped around them and everything, and the huge like dais the three wise men are going to end up getting massacred on. Like pretty cool.
Mike?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd say it's like a 65% Christmassy feeling in there. I mean, it's so baked into the plot, so it's like I feel like that is very Christmassy. It's about Christmas Eve and stuff, and we're seeing a very different side of the world on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they do, introduce enough Christmas iconography and stuff that I think that it works, and it's still pretty Christmassy.
No, I was like, yeah, probably like a medium Christmassy. I mean, it's no like Christmas Evil or anything like that.
No.
But what is?
It's more Christmassy than Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, The Initiation.
Yeah, that movie's not Christmassy at all. Oh, we were gonna talk about that. Maybe we'll bring that up later too. Or maybe next time Mike comes on, we'll talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Initiation. Make him watch it again.
I just watched it the second time last night.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. It's either your favorite or your least favorite is kind of what I've heard.
Not to get into it too much, but I watched with the commentary last night. Watching it straight through, because the previous time I tried to watch it for the first time in like 20 years, I watched it in like, it took me like 3 tries because I kept falling asleep. Watching it straight through, it works much better when it's all one continuous sweep into the end, because the end does go batshit crazy, because my original critique was that it's not crazy enough.
Mm-hmm.
It goes pretty batshit, but it never really ties together, so it's just like stuff, and it never really works. And then hearing Brian Yuzna's commentary, he's like, wow, there's a lot of really good ideas here, but it never really like ties together. I'm like, yeah, exactly. There's some great set pieces, especially when Clint Howard is stabbing that dude to death while the girl hides under the bed. That was like legitimately disturbing, that scene. It was very unlike Brian Yuzna. It was very serious and very, very uncomfortable to watch. I was like, damn, this is intense.
And
this is more Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer than it was Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Don't forget we get those great Screaming Mad George gooey bug effects too.
Absolutely. The effects were fucking phenomenal. It just felt like it was like a diet version of Society. I'm like, what is this? Like, if the stuff didn't fit, there was no like, they never tie in the hallucinations and all the weird imagery to the actual plot, so it's just stuff. It's still cool, but it would have been way more effective if there was a point to it.
No, I agree.
Does anyone get possessed by the spirit of a samurai ancestor through a thing of ceremonial armor?
I don't think so. There's no blood
okay,
beat
good.
going on.
No, this movie's more about witches and less about blood beats.
No.
Mike, have you seen Blood Beat?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I never sat through the whole thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
it,
I regret sitting through the whole thing.
it's. I mean, I trapped the devil. Like we it was a little contentious, although you and I were pretty much on the same page. We've never been more contentious than Bloodbeat, where Jeff hated it, and I think it's a masterful art of filmmaking. But I've convinced myself that it's good. I don't know.
He's got too much Wisconsin brain to think clearly.
But no, I do agree though. Like I think it's light on the Christmas. It's very or like a kind of a medium Christmas level. I will say Kills not Christmas yet at all, except for one of the Toyotas was wearing a Santa hat.
Yeah,
So
that's true. You can count that.
but the no, I love there's scenes where people have Christmas decorations set up. I think at one point when Kavan goes into the convenience store and the Toyotas are leaving, like Silent Night is playing, Silent Night Holy Night is playing on like the speaker system as he's going through, and like there's there's some tinsel draped around, and you got some Christmas lights in some scenes. But yeah, like you said, Mike, it's a different part of the world. I'm sure they probably don't get all gaudy for Christmas like we do. They probably view like the way we treat Christmas like very, very strangely.
Yes. Most of the world, it's about the religious connotation of Christmas, not so much the Coca-Cola Santa and pagan iconography of Christmas.
That's America, baby.
Yeah, woo! Strap in. Broken bulb, brilliant bulb. One thing you want to fix, one thing you want to praise. We do this so we don't, only talk shit about bad movies or only talk good things about good movies. Every movie has something it can do to make it a little bit better. And every bad movie has at least something that's worth praising in it. So, Mike, what's one thing you would fix in this movie?
The only problem I have with this movie is at the end with the transformation, when Jose Maria gets dropped off the building, is the really bad rear projection they do when he gets dropped. And that, I mean, I forgive it. It's silent. It was the effects of the time. Like it was 1995, a low budget movie. It's whatever. It's just still a charm to it. But the rest of the movie works so well that I almost wish they would have just not shown that at all, because it would have made it much more effective. But that's my only gripe with the movie. Otherwise, I think it's a fucking masterpiece.
Jeff, are you gonna call out that I was just undoing my pants? You were looking at me like you were gonna say something. I'm fat, okay? My belt's bothering me.
I was not gonna say anything, but now that you mentioned it, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah, you gave me the side eye there. Well,
I thought you were really into what Mike was talking about over there.
While I'm on screen, it doesn't bother me.
Whenever Mike's on, talking, I always got one hand on the joystick, if you know what I mean.
It's the Christmas spirit rising,
Jeff, what's your broken bulb? What's the one thing you would fix?
My only broken bulb was I thought that the movie starts off a little slow, and I think it could, because I noticed a lot of people talking about it online said they can't get through the first half hour, and I'm like, but if you do get through the first half hour, you get an amazing movie. So I'm like, maybe they could have added like a little bit more wacky stuff at the beginning. But I mean, I think honestly it works pretty well other than that.
No, I agree with both of what you guys said. My thing was for a movie that feels very contained and like all the stuff kind of wraps itself up, like I mentioned, like the guy handing out the leaflets is that leaflet comes into play later. Like I think like I said, maybe the lady making the phone call, her husband is the guy who gets electrocuted. Like I was like, I'm like, for a movie that kind of wraps itself together like really nicely. We don't get any resolution for Mina. Like Mina and Grandad are just kind of left there. Like it's just kind of like a nebulous outcome. Like I thought maybe we'd get something at the end of the movie. Like I kept waiting for Mina to come back in and like do something or be involved, or we see her, sitting like a towel draped around her shoulders, the police there, and she's like, drinking some hot cocoa or something.
Granddad's
like,
still dong.
Granddad's like standing in the corner, dong hanging out, like oblivious to the whole thing. That was the one thing I would fix, is I'm like just one scene right there, and I think like it would be like a 10 out of 10 for me, which it already is, but like that would make it, I don't know, a 10.1 out of 10. I don't know. But yeah, brilliant bulb. What's one thing that you felt you haven't praised enough, Mike, that you want to praise?
I just think that it's just the dark humor, like it's especially for the time, like that was the smack dab in the middle of the parental advisory, like world and all that shit where censorship was very much becoming something that was in vogue. And this is a movie about a priest trying to sell his soul to the devil. Like it's so wildly offensive in the best possible way. Like it definitely was written to ruffle feathers, and I love that. Like I thought that it was really great. It was just, but it's really cleverly written too. It's not like shock value shit. Like it's actually a very intelligent movie, and that I love it. I think that's just fantastic. I love the writing.
Oh man, that's better than anything I was gonna put down.
Mine was the writing as well. My thought was I watched it in Spanish to begin with. I loved it. I watched it in English. I loved it. It's like if you're able to make a movie that is well written enough to transcend the language barrier, I think you've done an excellent thing. And just I mean, the performances are great too. I mean, I don't know how many Jose Maria lines I'm going to be able to incorporate in my everyday life, but I'm going to try and do as many as I can. Jeff, your mom is dead. Heavy.
Jeff, you are. I mean, of the three of us, like I think I said, I think we all want to be Jose Maria.
Yeah.
Jeff, you are the most Jose Maria of the three of us.
Well,
Jose Maria also looks like he climbed down out of a mountain before showing up for the movie.
I am honored.
For me, it's how good the effects are for a movie that you looked up, like what the budget kind of was or would be.
It would be equivalent to about $240,000.
Which, we like, yes, it's in Europe, and like I'm sure, European law, European money and European laws are different in the way they can shoot stuff. But like even then, like it was 1995, the effects and like what they were able to do just all looks so good. Like the devil looks so evil and like just looks fantastic when the devil shows up at the end of the movie.
I mean, the goat scene.
Yeah, the goat's great. Like all the gore effects are awesome. And the devil scene, he's standing in that tower. It gave me real like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man vibes. Like I'm like, hey, comparing it to one of the best final scenes in any movie ever, maybe. Like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like that's pretty high praise for this movie, I think.
Well, what's nuts too is like at the time that Alex Iglesias made this movie, there really was not like a big like genre filmmaking scene in Spain and stuff. That was not a thing. So like he was really pioneering all that stuff. So for them to make a movie like this is just so fucking crazy. Like nobody was doing anything like this. And it's really, on that Blu-ray from Severin, there's a really great documentary about the historical impact that he's had on the Spanish film. It's really, really fascinating stuff, but it made me appreciate it even more, especially for making a movie about a priest trying to sell his soul to the devil in such a very staunchly religious part of the world. Like,
yeah,
really, really ballsy stuff.
Yeah. Well, we need less romantic comedies and more satanic comedies, which is what this movie is marketed as.
Oh man. But every episode we like to wrap up kind of our discussion about it with putting the movie into one of three categories. We like to rank it. Is it ho 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 hilarious? Is it seasonally scary, or is it you'll be sorry? Let's start with Jeff and we'll work our way to Mike and then me. Jeff?
I mean, if it hasn't been made clear enough already, seasonally scary. This is an excellent movie. It has genuinely disturbing moments in it and genuinely hilarious moments, which is a balance that hardly anyone can walk well. But hats off to this director. I'm gonna have to watch the rest of his movies because if they're anything like this, I definitely need to see them. Can't say enough good things about this movie. Get a copy, watch it in Spanish, watch it in English. Do both, doesn't matter. Works in both.
Do them at the same time. one speaker's playing the Spanish, one speaker's playing the English dub. Just absorb it.
Basically,
That's
what
how
I'm
I
learning
learn
is if Mike Lombardo recommends you a movie, trust him.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Mike, what final rating?
Yeah, I agree entirely. I mean, I wouldn't have spent literally the last 20 years spouting off about this movie every chance I get, even knowing that people wouldn't be able to find it if I didn't think it was fucking incredible. And this was my most anticipated Blu-ray release of like the last like 10 years. Legitimately, when I saw that, I freaked the fuck out that they were going to do it. And then it didn't come out for like 3 years after they announced it. And I was so pissed, but can't recommend it enough. Just absolutely adore it. Watch all the rest of his movies are fucking crazy too. Like you'll love them. You'll absolutely love them. They're all just insane.
my final rating. I gave it a ho hilarious. You know, it's up to interpretation how you view these things, but I think this is the most ho hilarious movie we've had. Like it had me laughing from the moment the priest gets crushed with the cross all the way to the end, where it's kind of a like a Casablanca, like, you know, you and I are whatever that line is, where he's like, you and I are gonna be friends for a long time, pal. I don't know. It's been years since I've seen Casablanca.
This is the
The start of a beautiful friendship. That's what he says. But it's like you know, they're even kind of imitating that scene, and like from start to finish, the movie's just so fucking funny. Like they get themselves into all sorts of hijinks, all sorts of shenanigans. Like if you do kind of view it as a like this is all the outcome of a trip, like after a certain point in the movie, like it just these people are just doing insane things to their body because they're just insanely high and just hallucinating shit. And like you just get this scene where like the Christmas gift givers in Spain get blown away by the cops because they see a fugitive. It's just it's the funniest movie I've seen in a long time. And like this might be the most unironically funny movie we've had on this podcast, which is
Jay,
saying something.
as long as we stick together, we'll be fine. Immediately does.
That I mean that's what I thought was going to happen when we got back from New Jersey. I turned to Jeff and I was like, well, I'm like, you know, you've been away from home for 4 days. One of our wives might cancel the podcast after this. All right, well, let's wrap up here before we're gonna go into our garbage day mailbag, and we'll put our villain on the naughty list thing we do every episode. We've still not gone through and listened and put them in order. You know, we're still letting our listeners down, but
I've declared that Spencer's job.
no, that's fine. He doesn't need to do it.
Yeah, do it.
But if this is actually the devil, like if we're not saying the bad guy of the movie, the villain of the movie are a bunch of fascists, and we are instead saying the villain of the movie is the devil, above letters to Satan Claus and below I trapped the devil.
I guess that would determine how much influence you think he has, because the I Trap the Devil really doesn't do a whole lot except drive one man insane.
And also be a little girl, but also be a grown man. That's pretty creepy.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy, but I don't know. I don't know if it's more creepy than whipping up a fascist frenzy into burning people alive in the streets.
Yeah, so this devil's pretty bad in this.
You know what? You convinced me. All right, fine.
Yeah, I'm saying he's probably the worst devil we've seen so far. And by worst, I mean best.
Yeah, worst best devil. No, you know what? I'm good with that. I'm good putting him above both of our previous devils, but below whatever. I mean, like Mike's Apocalypse and I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday and stuff like that.
The devil has not yet destroyed the earth. So.
Is that still our the nuclear apocalypse from I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday? Is that still the top thing on our list?
Yes.
All right.
I believe it is still the top.
There you go, Mike. You still got the top spot. Well, it's time to ask Mike a bunch of questions in a segment we like to call
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
All right, Mike. Well, we got some questions here for you. Some serious, some not serious. We'll start with probably the most pressing, the most important one. Dead Format. What's the deal with that?
Dead Format is my second feature film. I decided after 7 years since I made White Doomsday, I should probably make another movie because I got yelled at by a lot of people to do it. And, you know, I want to be a cool kid, so I listen to peer pressure. I also started smoking, drinking, and skipping school, too. But that's...
Hell yeah, dude.
Pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be. I'm not Jose Maria, but, you know. No, so it's based on the short story I wrote, Dead Format, from Please Don't Tap on the Glass. It's about a VHS collector who just lost his father, and he's kind of struggling with that and his alienation from his family and from his friends. And he ends up going to the video store, Video Castle, that he used to frequent as a kid because they're going out of business. This is set in like the early 2000s, like right when video stores started to go under. And he's going to buy out all of their tapes. And he finds a movie called Next to Die that he's never heard of before. And he goes to buy it, and the clerk mysteriously says, he's like, this isn't one of my tapes. Like, what is this? And he's like, what do you mean it's not your tape? And he's like, I've been running this place for 30 years. I'm telling you, kid, I never fucking saw this before. So the guy's like, okay, I'm sorry. So it's not for sale. And the clerk's like, oh, I didn't say you wouldn't sell it. Selling this tape. And anyway, the tape ends up being not good. Let's just say that. Things go very poorly for our young protagonist when he tries to watch this tape. Lots of bad stuff happens. But it's kind of about nostalgia and grief, and it's very heavy and dark like White Doomsday, but it's got some comedy, like old real splatter humor in it a little bit. So it's kind of, I think, like tonally it kind of shoots down the middle. So it's not going to make you want to put a gun in your mouth unless you think it's really awful. Then maybe you would. But it's not nearly as like soul crushing as White Doomsday, at least not so overtly bleak. But it is very, very sad. And it's all based on personal real life shit. So it's a heavy movie, but I think it'll be fun. But we're like I said, we're crowdfunding. It's heavy, yeah, absolutely. We need to crowdfund because I can't self-finance this one. It's just way too big of a movie. It's literally 6 times the size of Doomsday. So we're crowdfunding for $60K because everyone is awesome. We were up to $30,000 now. It's been 10 days, which blows my mind that we've been doing so well, but people are really excited. The story was very, very popular, and a lot of people that are donating are saying, I always thought this would make a great movie. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. So do I. So here we are. So Excellent. Look for it hopefully soon. If the crowdfunder goes well, we're trying to shoot. I think we're looking like fall, hopefully to start production.
Excellent. Yeah, I've already bought the DVD on Indiegogo.
So I can't decide which perk I want. Do I want a thank you video from Mike? Do I want a social media message from Mike?
Those have been very popular. The one of my producers, Samantha Koliesnik, said to me, she's like, we need to do a video thank you perk. And I'm like, who the fuck is going to pay for me to thank you? She's like, Mike, everybody wants your attention. I'm like, that's bullshit. We have sold 13 of them so far. I was like, son of a bitch. Which I'm very thankful for, but like when we were doing the campaign, I literally wrote the description. It says it's like Cameo but less famous. Thinking nobody was gonna buy it, and now I have to film these videos, and I'm like, oh god damn it!
I mean, it's really fun. Our mutual friend Matt Dupay got a video thank you, and I love that you hauled out all the Doomsday stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I wore Damien's Doomsday sweater that hasn't been washed in literally 10 years, and it's so fucking bad. It made me sick when I was wearing it. But you know what? For Matt, I'll do anything.
This past summer, he posted a picture from one of the festivals or conventions he was doing, and he had something from Doomsday with him there, and he posted it, and I literally sent him a message, and I was like, it belongs in a museum.
Yeah, I sent him I don't remember if it was a calendar page or one of the drawings that Riley makes in the bomb shelter, but I had sent him one of those, and he has it like in a little frame. It's very sweet of him to do that. I was like, that's really cool. So he got a video thank you, but
yeah, he's better than us.
Yeah.
But what you want is one of the Video Castle clamshell rental boxes. That's the best perk. And so far, only one person has bought one. I've talked to a lot of people who have said they almost bought it, but then they opted for the t-shirt or something, which I'm not going to complain because the t-shirt's more expensive, but screen used video store rental box. Like they all have, one of them is White Doomsday 2, Simon's Quest, actually. I spent a lot of time designing those with my buddy and making sure they look very accurate. So personally, I thought that would be the perk that sold out the fastest, and I was completely wrong because that's what I would buy if I was a stranger personally.
Well,
but you know,
you might have to hold White Doomsday 2. I might log on to Indiegogo after we're done recording, and I might buy that perk so you can send that one to me.
I will hold one for you. I'm going to do a little exclusive here too. There will be a White Doomsday 2 video box as well.
Ooh.
So what we are doing is one of the perks is called Staff Picks, and it's a random screen used fake video box. So no one knows what those are yet because we haven't really announced them, but we are doing a full photo shoot for all of the fake movies that are in this movie that the main character talks about, and we are designing the full like cardboard boxes, and we are doing I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday Part 2, Simon's Quest.
Awesome.
Castlevania 2 joke, but I'm not going to say anything officially, but we are talking to Damien Maffei about reprising his role for this photo shoot. Hopefully, we can make that happen.
That's
Very busy right now, but we're thinking we might be able to do it. And it's going to be fucking hilarious if we can do it. It's like a Mad Max knockoff.
Oh, sweet.
But it's a direct sequel to the original film. So I'll say that.
I mean, next
but
project after Dead Format.
yeah, I don't think so. But that's the reason I started. I was like, you know what? We're gonna make a White Doomsday 2 because everybody fucking asked me what happened to the dad. And it's like, you know what? Fine, fuck you. I'll tell you what happened to the dad.
I mean, I just assume he died. Like
Yeah.
that's.
Well, no, I mean, yes, realistically, but if this were actually, if I was in the actual professional film world with this movie, with how Doomsday did, the smart move would have been to make a sequel, and that was the obvious direct-to-video sequel would be the dad's adventures or misadventures, as it were, and what happened to him. So it could be, maybe it's a prequel, maybe it's a sequel. It's a sequel, I'll say that.
Yes.
But the clamshell box also has the plot synopsis on the back, so you won't be missing out on anything. But that is one of the fake movies we will be doing within Dead Format.
I got a pitch. I got a pitch for you, Mike.
Okay.
So Simon, on his quest, finds a woman, starts a family. They have a kid, which causes Santa Claus to be reborn because now there is another child.
All right, I'll tell you guys what the plot of White Doomsday 2 is. This is again big exclusive. No one knows this yet.
Oh shit.
So Damien, or well, the dad, he left the shelter to find food and supplies for his family. Was captured by a gang of feral cannibals and held captive, where he was treated like a human cattle. Where they bit by bit were harvesting his blood and like fattening him up so he could then be harvested and eaten. He fights his way out and escapes, makes his way back home, only to discover the grisly fate of his family. Now, on the verge of suicide, he walks out into the wasteland, ready to kill himself because he failed his family, and he finds a child whose parents were killed by mutants, and he vows to protect this child to try to atone for the fact that he could not save his own family. So it's like an Italian Mad Max knockoff where he is battling his way through the wasteland against like post-apocalyptic like gangs and all the stuff that people wanted in the original movie and didn't get. So
amazing.
I love it.
And then Santa's hand reforms and clutches the air.
Breaks out of the crust of the earth. Holding the gas mask.
All right, I'm calling Murdoch. Let's make this happen.
All right. Well, speaking of I'm Dreaming of White Doomsday and Christmas movies, Dead Format, is it going to be set at Christmas time?
It's funny you say that. It is not, but Christmas does play a part in it. Yes.
Oh, excellent.
There are some home video segments from the 90s, and one of them is Christmas time.
Ooh, there we go.
All right. Well,
I can't. My fetish for weird Christmas is too strong. I can't.
If you had said no, we were going to be like, how about we grease those wheels, Mike? How about
I want another executive producer on this project.
Executive producer horror for the holidays.
Absolutely do. We are running out of executive producer slots.
I know. I'm surprised / impressed how quickly that's moved.
I am as well, because there's 2 additional ones that were international that don't show up on the actual. So that's almost like 7 or 8 people have actually more than that, because some people privately donated much larger sums of money and are executive producers. So we actually about 10 people, which is wild to me. But very, very grateful for it, obviously.
Because everybody loves you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's no accounting for taste, I guess.
Except for that one guy who, what was the thing you posted last year? Like, he's your ex's ex, and he wrote a shitty review of Doomsday on IMDb.
Yes,
that guy hates you. My
ex's ex that 10 years later found my movie and 1 started. I'm like, wow, you still thinking about me, bud? That's
real loser shit. That guy.
I mean, let's do a callback to the source material here. I want to know how faithful this adaptation is going to be. So we seeing a little beeve or what? Nothing wrong with a little beeve.
I will tell you this. That is the first spoken line in the screenplay.
Excellent.
That is still the open, much to my producer's delight. She's like, you cannot. I'm like, I will. And I am. That is the first spoken line of dialogue in the whole movie is ain't nothing wrong with little beef.
Excellent. Good. I can rest
So
easy.
very accurate. There are some changes to the screenplay though. It's expanded quite a bit, but the bulk of the story remains.
Excellent.
Well, I've got a couple rumors that we need you to address for us, Mike.
Okay.
And then Jeff can ask any other questions he has. But first things first, I heard you took over for Richard Kind as the new Riz King.
You know, that's it's funny you say that. You see, once upon a time I thought I ate. And here we are. You know, I thought I was Fuego. Definitely not. So, you know, I'm not going to appoint myself the Riz King, but you know, if you guys think I'm going to boots the house down, then I'll take it.
Richard Kind's like, I'm over here, and Mike Lombardo's the new Riz King.
I'm out the mud now. What can I say?
Famous character actor Richard Kind. And then also people on this podcast, multiple people, these two people sitting right here have both said on separate occasions that your favorite Chud movie is Chud 2, Bud the Chud. How do you respond?
Boy, look at the time. Chud 2, Bud the Chud is not a movie. It is I like to think of it this way. If the Lamont configuration from Hellraiser were real, and I opened the box, they wouldn't hook my face, they wouldn't skin me, they wouldn't hang me upside down and cut my genitals off. They'd force me to watch Chud 2, Bud the Chud. That movie, when you have a failed horror movie, it's funny. When you have a failed comedy, it's punishment. Bud the Chud is punishment. That movie is so unbelievably awful in every conceivable way. There's nothing funny about it at all. It's awful. I hate it. And it's got the fucking best cover art ever. It's got all the chuds descending into the sewer with chains wrapped around their necks. When I was a kid and I saw that at the video store, I lost my fucking mind. I'm like, there's a second one? And then I watched it and I was like, oh my fucking God, what is this? It's so bad. It's so fucking bad.
Oh, well, now that we've put those rumors to rest.
I was gonna say, I hope that answered your question. I can't even make like funny jokes about it. I hate it so much.
No, I want to say like a couple months ago, I just like threw out a line where I'm like, check out Chud 2, Bud the Chud. It's Mike's favorite movie. And it's just become a running bit on this show ever since.
You're not the only one. That is a lot of people accuse me of liking that movie to piss me off.
No, you know what? Don't check out Bud 2, Bud the Chud. Check out Day of the Beast instead.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely.
All right, Jeff, do you have any other questions?
Nope. I just glad we could have Mike back to talk about his new project. Always fun to have him on.
Hey, I'm glad to be back. I'm especially glad we finally got to talk about Day of the Beast. This has been in the works for quite some time.
Yeah, it's been not quite a year, about 8 months at least. And you're welcome back whenever. Well, we could do this. We could do this a billion more times. We could do this every week. I know you don't have the time. We could do this every week. You could just select the movie we watch and we'll just go from there.
I mean, obviously you have much better taste than we do.
Bud the Chud. It's like, what?
I mean, you wouldn't have selected what's a real bad one? Oh, Krampus the Christmas Devil. You wouldn't have selected that. That was oh man, that was awful. Those guys are from your neck of the woods too. So
I was gonna say they had about what you're gonna be working with for dead format for a budget too.
Oh boy.
And made maybe the worst thing my eyes have behold
ever. I would watch Blood Beat 1,000 times for another Krampus the Christmas Devil.
I watched what I think legitimately may be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Devil Story. It was released by Vinegar Syndrome. My producer actually bought it for me for my birthday because it had like a mutant Nazi guy on the cover and it looked like it was going to be real well as a French movie. So we watched it the other night. It is actually about 37 minutes long, and then they recycle the footage over and over. There is a 12-minute scene of a man shooting a shotgun in various directions, and then it cuts to like stock footage of a horse running around. The horse is supposed to be possessed. It just keeps cutting back and forth to that for 12 minutes straight because they didn't have any footage. They just had to pad out the runtime. It's barely a movie. It's not even funny bad. It is just painful to sit through. Like, legitimately, it's unbelievable. Bless you. It's so horrid, and I was like, wow, this actually might be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
Sounds amazing.
Vinegar Syndrome needs to stop doing that.
Yes.
We had the same thing happen with The American Scream.
Oh my God. It's
They
because
have
we
some
were like,
questionable
surely,
release.
if a movie is being preserved and remastered, it must at least be worth watching. No, turns out no.
No, this is not. This one should have been left to rot. There was nothing redeemable about it. It wasn't funny bad. It was just horrendously bad.
Well, I will say that there is something about The American Scream that is worth preserving. That I will, whenever a Red Hot Chili Peppers song comes on, I turn to my wife and I go, "That guy's dad. He's in The American Scream."
That's what I do every time I listen to Fiona Apple. I'm like, that chick's dad. It's in Christmas Evil.
No, absolutely the same. I do the exact same thing. I mean, I will literally like I've said if I ever meet Fiona Apple, I'm gonna be like, I love your dad in Christmas Evil.
Apparently they don't talk about it. They do not talk about it, I'm told. Like, it's like a sore topic.
Oh, I got my wife with the four birds thing again. She didn't see it coming. We were at a Sam's Club walking by the rotisserie chickens. I got her. She wasn't even expecting it. 4 birds. There's enough for one night.
Oh, well, Mike, if we could send something back your way. If you haven't seen Once Upon a Time at Christmas, it's not good. It's bad, but it's good bad.
I mean, it's good. It's very good.
That sounds like it's up my alley.
It's Killer Santa that is also somehow the Joker and Harley Quinn, and then just the two most incompetent cops you've ever seen in any movie ever.
Who've apparently never seen fruit before.
The kills, I mean, we've covered it on the podcast. The kills are the 12 Days of Christmas. You'll figure that out by like the second kill, as the people are killed in Two Turtle Dove like park, and it takes the police up until the last day for him to be like, what about that guy Partridge we found that was chewing that pear? What do you mean pear? It was an apple. Wait. Or what do you mean an apple? It was a pear, like a partridge in a pear tree. And then they start putting it all together.
Yes. The entire investigation stems from the fact that a detective can't identify a pear from an apple.
That's
and the family that gets killed, and they're the Frenchins. All 3 Frenchins were killed. All 3 of them. All 3 Frenchins.
wow.
You need to check it out. I'll
add that to the list.
But anyway, Mike, what do you want to plug? But you plug your Indiegogo, but everything else.
Yep. So check out the Dead Format Indiegogo. Check it out on Facebook. That's where I'm most active. I am on the realsplatter.com, real with 2 E's, like it's real filmed. That site will be updated at some point soon. So I realized I haven't updated with the Indiegogo yet, which is probably stupid. And YouTube. I'm around all over the place. Just Google me, you'll find me. I'm around.
We've if you guys can't find Mike, look up the Happy Birthday to Mike image I made for his birthday, which was the cover of Happy Birthday to Me, but it was Mike getting his face skewered by the skewer or whatever.
Best damn birthday shish kebab I ever had.
and I think I tagged him in it on all the things, so you can find Real Splatter there and then find your way to Mike through that. But otherwise, follow us on social media. We are at horror4 holidays. We're all the places: TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. The things that are there, the things that won't be there soon. Well, if new things pop up, we'll be there too. We're all the places.
We're on the YouTubes, youtube.com/horror for the holidays. Subscribe, hit the bell, subscribe on the podcatchers. 5 stars. Jeff and Jay sound extra fat in this one.
Oh man, why Jay unzip his pants in that one scene? Like,
yeah, why is there a weird squelching sound while Mike is talking?
Anyway, leave us a review on your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars. It especially if it's a bad review. If you're gonna say something negative about how we discredited your favorite conspiracy theory or whatever, 5 stars. Tell us about it there. We're not gonna read it if it's a 1-star review. Go fuck yourself. Only if it's a 5-star review.
Anything you want to say to wrap up, Mike?
Thank you for having me. I'm just happy to chat with you boys about movies, and thank you guys for supporting Dead Format. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, buddy. Let us let us know what Christmas horror movie you want to do next, and we'll be glad to have you on. It could be an oldie, it could be a new one, like whatever you're interested in checking out. We'll be here to watch it with you.
I appreciate that. I'll find something good.
If you're like, you know what, I wanted to see It's a Wonderful Knife. I didn't get to see that. We've already seen it, but we'll watch it and we'll do it for the podcast.
No, I don't want to say Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, but
yeah, we'll do Silent Night. Fuck it, we'll do Silent Night, Deadly Night 3.
I was joking. I can't do that again.
All right, we'll do Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. Toymaker.
I'm about to watch that one. So fuck it. Let's do it.
All right. We'll pencil you in for that one.
All right, audience. I'll just leave you with a little, some words of wisdom I learned once. Ain't nothing wrong with a little beef.
Thanks for listening.